Un emprendedor no tiene peros, pero un emprendedor social ni siquiera los conoce. Para mí es un orgullo presentarles a una persona que viene desde Alemania para compartirles un modelo de negocios sociales que fue creado también por Muhammad Yunus, Premio Nobel de la Paz, 2006. Michael Broom es el director general del Creative Gaming Bank, que se dedica precisamente a promover los negocios sociales en el mundo y que próximamente tendremos un foro en noviembre para promover este movimiento que se necesita tanto en este país y en Latinoamérica. Por favor, brindemos un fuerte aplauso a Michael Broom.
Gracias. Buenos días a todos. That's my only words which I can speak in Spanish, so I will give the presentation in English, but if you need translation outside, you can have the devices. First of all, thank you, Gemma, and thank you to INADEM that we have the possibility to present here the social business model. I was here this morning and had a look around, and I think it's a great event to support young entrepreneurs, people who want to become entrepreneurs, and to give them a holistic approach in supporting them, consulting them. I've never seen something like that in Germany, and we have to follow this model and to create entrepreneurship in Germany as well, and this is a great opportunity, and I think it will help a lot of the possible or potential entrepreneurs here in Mexico to get their business started. When we talk about business and talking about social business is an alternative model to create businesses with a different purpose. The purpose is not profit maximization. The purpose is to serve society's needs, and I will explain you about this model and show you some case studies. So at a glance, what you're going to listen and what I want to explain is the work of Professor Muhammad Yunus, the microcredit and the Grameen Bank, the social business concept itself, the impact of social businesses, 2 case studies, and then some instructions and recommendations how to create a social business by yourself. And then I would give you an overview about the social business community in Mexico, what's next, what's coming up with social business in Mexico, and some final remarks. So I would like to start with the work of Professor Muhammad Yunus. Professor Muhammad Yunus is from Bangladesh, and as you see here, why he is an important man. He is 1 out of 7 people in the world who has received 3 prizes, which is the Nobel Peace Prize, which is the Presidential Medal of Honor from the US President, and as well the Congressional Gold Medal by the US Congress. So he's in 1 row together with Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, and some others. So all people who have done a lot in terms of change-making processes and to help and to create the world as a better place. So Professor Muhammad Yunus is coming from Bangladesh, as when he was a child with the age of 15 and 16, he has the possibility to go as a Boy Scout to Canada, and that was not usual during these times in the 50s of the last century, that a boy from Bangladesh was traveling around the world. And he made a diary during his journey and say, okay, what can we do better, what can we improve? And he was very interested in everything, and he has some ideas and visions what could be improved. He had a scholarship afterwards to study in the US, and after finalizing his studies, he became a teacher in economy. He was working at US universities, and in 1972, when Bangladesh became independent, his country of origin, he went back to his country to see what he can do for the country, for his home base. So he was working at the university in Bangladesh, and during this time in 1972, 1973, There were a lot of poor people in Bangladesh, and there were a lot of floods because it's a country without any mountains. And so people were dying in the street of hunger, of natural incidents. And he said, with his students, it's not good to stay within the university to talk about economy. We have to go out, we have to go to small villages, we have to go to the rural areas and see what we can do as scientists and as students to help the people in our country. Therefore, he identified some social problems and...
Wait a second, because the doctor is not here.
Is the translator?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Okay, so I wait a moment for the translator. Sorry. I could not improve my Spanish during this time, so we will wait.
Picture?
Hmm?
Picture, please.
Yes. All right. You're welcome. All right. I heard in 2 minutes the translator will arrive. Pardon?
You can practice Spanish.
Okay. Good. Translator has arrived, so I will start once again. Thank you for all being here, and thank you, Inadem, for giving me the possibility to explain what social business is all about. My name is Michael Prohm. I'm working for the Grameen Creative Lab in Germany, and I want to show you and give you an explanation, an introduction to the social business concept. In one glance, what I'm going to present today is the work of Professor Mohamed Yunus, the microcredit concept and the work of the Grameen Bank, the social business concept itself, and the impact of social businesses. Then I will show you two case studies, one from Bangladesh and one from a global one, and some recommendations how to create a social business. Giving you an overview afterwards about the social business community in Mexico, and then what's next, how can you get involved, and some final remarks. I would like to start with the work of Professor Mohamed Yunus. He received one or three very important prizes in the world. One is the Peace Nobel Prize from Sweden and Norway. The other one is the Presidential Medal of Honor from the US President, as you see in the middle of the picture row, and the Congressional Gold Medal. So he's in a row with 6 other people who received all these 3 prizes, which is like Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, people who worked for freedom, people who worked to create a better society, for civil rights, and Professor Yunus is one of these change makers. A little bit about his life. So when he was 15 years old, he was a Boy Scout, and he had the opportunity to go from Bangladesh to Canada to a Boy Scout meeting, and that was not usually in the 50s of the last century, and he was not coming from a very rich family, so it was a great opportunity for him. And this trip opened his eyes, where he said, okay, there's a lot of things going on in the world, not only in Bangladesh, and there are a lot of things which can be improved, social problems, and he started to write a diary, what could be better, what could be improved, what could be new, what kind of innovations could there be. When he was 19, he went to the US to study economics. He had a scholarship there, and after his studies he became a professor and a teacher for economy. In 1972 he went back to his home country, Bangladesh, because this was a year of independence in Bangladesh, and he went back to his home base to see what he can do and how he can help for his country and the citizens in Bangladesh. He worked at a university in Chittagong, and during this time, he always said people were dying in the streets because of strong poverty, because of a lot of floods, people have nothing to eat, all these problems which arise when a country was pretty new, and they do not have the infrastructure and all these things around. And so he went out with his students and said, we cannot stay within the university, we have to go out, we have to see what we can do for the people, for the poor people. And so he was traveling around in Bangladesh, talking with a lot of people, and to see how he can help with the students to develop concepts, and one of them I will explain you later on. His idea was, he believes that we can create a world without poverty, because it's not the poor who created the poverty, it's the poor who lived in poverty, and we should develop structures that they can live without poverty. So he's not only the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, he's the founder of the Grameen Bank, he's the initiator of social business, and I'm proud to work for him because also he's the founder of the Grameen Creative Lab, the organization where I'm working for. What is Grameen and what is the Grameen Bank? Professor Yunus identified during his travel around Bangladesh that there is one real problem for poor people. They had no financial inclusion, they had no access to financial resources because banks were not giving any credits to the poor people. They give credits to people who have already money, but not to the ones who do not have money. And so he said when he traveled around, The first money he gave was out of his pocket, and it was 28 US dollars, which is not a big amount, also not in the 70s of the last century. And during this time, this helped a lot of people. And so he went to a bank and said, okay, could you give some credits to the poor people? And they say, no, we will not do this because I will not repay these credits. And during all this process of lending money from his pocket and taking some credits from banks and give it to the poor, he created the idea to establish a bank. That was never his intention, but he said, okay, let's establish a bank with a complete alternative model, a bank which is established to help the poor people and not the rich people, and which serves their needs. And so they established in 1983 the Grameen Bank. And the Grameen Bank was the first institution worldwide who invented microcredits. And microcredit means like a very small amount of money to help people that they have an own income, that they have a small business. Today, the Grameen Bank has more than 8.5 million borrowers in Bangladesh. This means like for my average family, 36 million people in Bangladesh profit from the microcredit program. This is between 22 and 23% of the whole population in Bangladesh. So it's becoming a real big bank. In the beginning, it was like, let's say, giving credits to 50% to male people and to female people. And then they discovered at the Grameen Bank that the money which they giving to the women had really a better impact to the life of the families. And so they changed the model, and now 97% of the borrowers of the Grameen Bank are women. This sounds maybe not very strange, but we always have to consider in our mind that Bangladesh is an Islamic country, and so it was not usual that women get credits and women had money. For some of these women in the bank who get the credits, it was the first time ever that they have money in their hands. Nowadays, the Grameen Bank has more than 11 billion US dollars spent as credits in form of microcredits in the last 31 years. And there's a very impressive fact. They have 96.7 repayment rate. This is a repayment rate which is not normal, not for a normal bank. And so everybody who said you will never get this money back from the poor people was wrong, and the Grameen Bank is a very successful model. It is connected, the microcredit program, if you receive a credit, that you have to follow some guidelines. One of the guidelines is that you have to send your children to school, which is also not normal in Bangladesh and not the average. And so today, 99% of the children of the borrowers can read and write. 50% of the borrowers have less than 2 children because they have increased their life standard, and usually if you increase your life standard, you reduce the number of children you have, and so this shows that they really have a better life. The Grameen Bank itself is owned by the borrowers. It was established by Professor Yunus and his students, but today it's established, it's owned by the borrowers. It's not Professor Yunus' bank, and also this model was completely different to other banks because the borrowers are also the owners of the bank. If we talk about the interest rate, and this is always something which we need to consider in our mind, what kind of interest rate has the Grameen Bank? And for instance, the Grameen Bank has 20% interest rate for the people where they give the credits to start their own business. Usually in Bangladesh and in other countries like that, the average of the interest rate is 35%. And we have some institutions also working with microcredits, also in Mexico, but in other parts of the world, where you have sorry, 70% of interest rate, which means these institutions are not serving the needs, the needs of the poor people. These institutions make profit, and a lot of profit with the poor people. And so the Grameen Bank is a completely different model because it was established for the poor people, and it's still owned by the poor people, and it is the main purpose to help the poor people with this credit. The amount is very small, but it is for the credits because it needed to help people to become a rice farmer, to have a chicken farm or something, really a small business, to start to become independent and to have their own life and their own income and to become independent. So Grameen Bank was the first social business established by Professor Yunus. Today, there are a lot of more Grameen organizations. One is like where I'm working for. A lot of them are in Bangladesh. And Grameen means, in the Bangla language, the spirit of working together in a small village. And this is why Grameen Bank is also working only in in the rural areas and not in the big cities. And this means, like what we all know when we come from small villages, there is a kind of a community, there's a kind of neighborhood which helps each other. And that's what the word Grameen means in the Bangla language. So, as I said, Grameen Bank was the first social business. I would like to tell you how it is and how it was, because Professor Yunus and his students, they identified a social problem, and then they established a company, the Grameen Bank, to solve this problem. And after the Grameen Bank and the microcredit idea was very successful, they said, okay, this is not belonging only to the financial sector, we could do this also for other sectors. And therefore, it was established the concept of social business. Today, when we do not know what it is, everybody from us will go to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia has the explanation for social business in a good sentence. A social business is a no-loss, no-dividend company with the only purpose of solving a social problem. And this is in one glance what a social business means, but I will show you one video where Professor Yunus explains what a social business is with a case study of Grameen Danone. Let's see the movie.
We created a joint venture company with Danone. Danone is the food company, which is the water company and the yogurt company. You have Danone yogurt, everybody likes. So this is called Grameen Danone Company in Bangladesh. I met the chairman of Danone in a chance meeting, and we were discussing, and I suggested to him, why don't we create a Grameen Danone company in Bangladesh? He said, to do what? I said, to produce yogurt. You said your yogurt is very delicious. I said, for a special purpose. We can produce yogurt to address the problem of malnutrition among the children of Bangladesh. We take all the micronutrients which are missing in the children, put it in the yogurt, and make it very cheap so that the poorest children can afford it and eat it. There are millions and millions of children in Bangladesh who are malnourished. Experts tell us that if a child eats 2 cups of these yogurts per week and does it over a year, he or she will regain the full health. He said, I agree. He shook hands and we said, I agree. I said, I have not finished yet. I said, it will be a social business. He said, what is a social business? I explained to him, in this business, social business, you can invest, but you cannot take any dividend. You can take all your investment back, recoup all your money, But after you have taken back the last penny, it stops. Company continues to earn profit, but it is not your profit. It's company's profit. Company continues to expand and reach out to more children because it is driven by the social objective. He again shook hands, he said, I agree. This time I thought he doesn't understand my English. But later on I exchanged emails explaining everything. I said, please confirm if we understand each other. He gladly sent me back. He said, I understood every word of it. Let's go ahead and do it. And we created that company. We are selling that yogurt now in Bangladesh. She gets a batch of supplies from the Grameen Danone factory, and then she sells it in the village. We have a special program for beggars. So she might be a member of that group that as a beggar she joined Grameen Bank to take a loan and start the business. Instead of begging around, now she sells around. So it's a transformation by itself. This particular job, selling yogurt, came in very handy. She knows the families all around the place. She knows where she can sell this stuff. And people support her because she used to beg. Now she is selling something. So this is good for everybody. If this becomes successful in this cluster of villages, then all we have to do is to repeat this all over Bangladesh. Because once if you put it in a business format, then the sky's the limit. You can expand it as many ways as you want, because once you get this engine started, it never stops. It runs by its own steam. And that's where the difference between charity and a social business. In charity, when you give the money, it goes away. It never comes back. So charity dollar has only one life. If you use it, it's done. But if you can define this or design this into a social business, then suddenly that social business dollar has endless life because it recycles. It starts moving back and forth again and again. So you touch many more lives and it continues ever and ever.
That's the explanation of Professor Yunus and showing the case study of Grameen Danone. So if we talk about social business is always related to the business community, and it takes the means of the traditional business, which means like a social business must always be self-sustainable, but it also has to identify where it is located. It has the ends of the NGOs, foundations, non-public sector to have social and ecological use maximization. So this is where social business takes both of, or the best of both sectors, but it's always related to the business community. To explain it just a little bit more what a social business is, Professor Yunus has identified like 7 principles that you have it at one glance, at one page of piece of paper, to see what is this concept about. First of all, the business objective is to overcome poverty or one or more problems such as education, healthcare, technology, access, environment, malnutrition, whatever. Whatever is what kind of social problems you identify, which threaten people and society, and the purpose is not profit maximization. The second principle is it should be financial and economic sustainability. So this means it must be a non-loss company. The third one is investors get back their investment amount only. No dividend is given beyond this investment money, so no dividend. This means like if you give me $10,000 US dollars that I can establish my business, I will receive some profits, and after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I will give you exactly back this $10,000, but nothing more. So this means like the fourth principle, when the investment amount is paid back, the company profit stays within the company for expansion, to scale it, to improve it, to have more social impact. The fifth one is it should be environmentally conscious, so we do not want to solve one problem, like a social problem, and establish another problem cursing the environment. The sixth one is that the workforce gets market wage, but in some countries like Bangladesh with better working conditions, because especially if you think about the garment industry in Bangladesh, there are very, very low safety restrictions and so on, and people who work in social business should have better working conditions. And the seventh one is don't do it because you think I have to do it and it's necessary. So you should do it because you want to do it. You should have heart blood and you should do it with joy. Defining the spectrum a little bit, what is social business about and what is social enterprise, what is social innovation, because there are a lot of terms mingling around in the sector. I want to give you a definition of the spectrum and where social business is located in the spectrum. So the overall term is social entrepreneurship, and we're talking about entrepreneurship today in this week for the entrepreneurs here. Social entrepreneurship means this is an activity with the goal of solving a social problem and using entrepreneurial principles to organize, create, manage a venture to achieve the social goal. This entity is called a social enterprise, and this could be non-profit organizations, it could be hybrid non-profit organizations, could be for-profit business as well, and also social business. An overview about this selected concepts and models to achieve the social impact I would like to give you here. So first, and on the top you have the traditional profit maximization, which has poor profit, which gives dividend to the owners or the shareholders, and which is a profitable business that aims to maximize shareholder value without any direct social mission. The second one is responsible business, which means this company has still profit, but a kind of a good profit and having some dividend. But this profitable business pays dividends to its investors, but it acts responsibly according to the high code of conduct and leverages profits to engage in CSR activities, to treat their suppliers fair and all this stuff like that. The next one is inclusive business, which means there is a profit, there is a dividend, but it has a target to do something good. This means inclusive business targets low-income communities at the bottom of the pyramid, for instance in Mexico, working with indigenous communities and having a profitable business model and benefits sustainable livelihoods. The next one is social business, where we say, okay, you have to make profit, but you do not give any dividend. Yeah? So this means a profitable business with a zero dividend policy that has the sole mission of serving society's needs. The next one is a hybrid non-profit, which means a charity organization which has some profit but no dividend, and these charity organizations follow a social objective and are financed through donations and to some revenue-generating activities. For instance, I always say a good example is UNICEF. I guess most of you will know UNICEF, and UNICEF is selling these Christmas cards, for instance, and this is a kind of a revenue stream where they finance their activities. So they make some profits, but they do not give out any dividend for that, and still belonging to some donations as well. And you have the non-profit sector, which is charity, non-profit, non-dividend, still charity organizations that follow social objectives and which are nearly between 95 or 100% financed through donations and charity. So if you look at this, you see at the right pillar, the business means for social good is from responsible business to the hybrid non-profit, and the social entrepreneurship is from inclusive business to non-profit organizations. So this is that you see where social business is located inside this whole sector of social enterprises and a kind of the doing good sector with business purposes. what kind of social impact can be achieved and how can it be achieved? One is with the product where the social business creates. Like for instance, the example in the video of Grameen Danone, you see the yogurt, and this yogurt helps against malnutrition by children in Bangladesh, and so it's the product itself which helps to solve the social problem. But it could be also the operations, like the employment, the production chain, which could have the social impact. And also, like for the example of the Grameen Bank, the ownership, that the poor people have, are the owners of a company, like the Grameen Bank, for instance. Mostly, I would say not 100%, but mostly it is like that the social business impact in the developing world is more from the products and the services of a social business, like for instance the yogurt by Danone, and not by the operations. But still, also the operations could help, like this example with the beggar lady in the video. So she was a beggar in former times, and now she's a sales lady and has an own income and has a job and has a profession, and is like a very small entrepreneur, but she's no longer depending on the money and charity money from other people. Now she has a job and creates their own income. In the developed world, it's not mostly not the product itself which helps to create the social impact. It's more this production and operation chain, which could be production, which could be purchasing, which could be distribution, marketing, and logistics. Just one example of a friend of mine in Europe. He has created a business which is called Mamu, and this is a business which designs and produces very stylish scarves, and they sell the scarves in boutiques, in fashion stores to, let's say, a very good price, higher than H&M or Zara or all these brands which we know, but a bit lower than Gucci or something like that. So this means this product is not solving any social problem, but the way how it is produced, because my friend Fionn identified that single educating masses in Latvia have no social welfare, no social security. They do not receive much money from the state, and also they have nearly no possibility to get a job. So this means they live in poverty. And he said, I want to change something. And so he trains these masses. He gives them skills to produce these scarves. And now they're producing the scarves in a kind of a homework, so at their own apartment. And they produce as much as they can, and what the baby or the babies allow, because they are giving the timing when the mother can work or when she cannot work, because they have to take care for the small baby, and therefore they have an income. Now more than 40 single educating mothers are working for this business. So this means not the product itself solves the problem, but the production chain solves it. I would like to give you two case studies. One is from Bangladesh. It's called Grameen Shakti. I have a short video to introduce this. Grameen Shakti is a company which was established long ago and had the purpose to get people or to give people the access to renewable energies in form of solar home panels, so leading edge technology 20 years ago. And I will show you a video about the work of Grameen Shakti.
Bangladesh has a serious power problem. Nearly half of the 162 million people who live here don't have access to electricity. Light can change lives, which is why the residents of this small village are beaming about this project. Grameen Shakti, a non-profit company in Bangladesh, is introducing solar power, borrowing power, and girl power to the villagers all at the same time. The program trains village women like Manawara to install and repair solar panels and electrical outlets on homes and businesses. and pays them for their work. This kind of job will help the women, and they'll be able to contribute financially to their family, she says. It will be good if this kind of job opportunity expands here. While increasing her own family's income, she's also changing the lives of her neighbors. For 40-year-old Fatima Begum, it means she will have electricity in her home for the very first time in her life.
What was it like before?
I used kerosene lamps for the light, but it blackened my house with soot, she says. Now Begum and her family can breathe easier and have appliances in their home. But the panels don't come cheap. They cost about $300, about half of what Bangladeshis earn per year on average.
You know, the first barrier was the high upfront cost of solar system, and we overcome that problem by introduced microcredit tools. You know, the people when they buy a solar home system, they don't have to pay all the money at a time.
And the solar power program is self-sustaining. The cost of the panels pays for the training of the local technicians.
Solar power isn't just being used in the homes in this village. Nearly every single business is using it, and some say they're making much bigger profits because of it.
Taylor Ekbar Ali says the solar light means more time to sew and sell. We could not work much before we got the solar power. We had to stop work before sunset, but now we can work until 10 in the night, so it boosts my income. It's good, he says. The shop owner says his profits have nearly doubled since the solar panel was installed. The solar power program has also sparked an entrepreneurial spirit here.
People are very intellectual. They are using this energy in different ways so that they can earn more money. One business is they are renting the light to others.
And here's another money-making venture. Cheap cell phones are everywhere, but they're no use without a charge. This solar-powered shop in the village offers a charging station for a few cents per charge. Ramin Shakti technicians have managed to install 550,000 home solar systems across 40,000 villages. Bangladesh's abundance of sunlight is now being taken advantage of on a massive scale. Sarah Seidner, CNN, Kalihati, Bangladesh.
All right. So this means like during these times when Gramin Shakti was implemented, 70% of the population in Bangladesh were off-grid without energy. And this means like more than 100 million of people live in this rural area without having access to energy. And it was a kind of a vicious circle because with this lack of access to energy, they have no possibility for the children to learn for their schools, for instance, or for the parents if they produced something after sunset. And with that, it was a lack of efficiency and limited business activities. And this limited business activities means also there's a lack of economic power because the income decreases with that. And so Gramin Shakti became the largest rural-based renewable energy company. It could also be used to charge cellular phones, and these solar home panels are highly decentralized. So it's focused on small villages in the rural area of Bangladesh. This is an old sales figures because in 2011 it was 237,000. In 2013, more in total, Gramin Shakti has sold more than 1 million solar home systems in Bangladesh. So you see, they started very small and very early with this leading edge technology to bring it to a developing country. And now it is more sold than 1 million in Bangladesh. Also, they have employed now more than 100 women as technicians to be trained. And always remember, we are still talking about an Islamic country, and these women are the technical experts right now for maintenance of the solar home panels, and this is for me a great example for women empowerment in a country. And then they have diversed more products to have a scope of more products, not only like the solar home systems, but also biomass in terms of natural gas for cooking. And they have sold now a lot of biogas plant construction, because we're talking about rural areas, we're talking about a lot of animals who will be there, so biogas is a good energy resource. Also, they have increased cooking stoves, because in former times a lot of women were only cooking with wooden fire, which means this is not good for the environment on the first hand side, but on the second hand side also it causes indoor pollution, and so they have improved cooking stores and sold more than 2 million from them. And now some more products like organic fertilizers as a product by biogas. The outlook is that they want to sell within the next few years more than 5 million solar home systems, more than 205,000 biogas plants or small plants, more than 5 million increased improved cooking stoves, and to create more jobs, like 100,000 in the green job creation. So this means a small company, but it replicates, and once they have the breakthrough, it becomes large, and now Grameen Shakti is operating in a very good way. So this is, for me, a great example how you can do this, and also it could be an example to replicate a kind of this in countries where people are still living off-grid, which means they do not have any resource to energy resources, like for instance in Africa, but also there are some communities still in Mexico, as I know. The second case study is about Dialogue in the Dark, and Dialogue in the Dark was established in Germany, but now they're operating worldwide. And what is it about? Very easy, this slide is not broken or damaged or something like that. It is about darkness, and it is about to raise awareness for blind people, and it gives you an experience. What is it if you cannot see anything? And so the founder, Andreas Heinecke, identified there is still in the world 650 million people with disabilities. That's the initial social problem, and about 160 million are visually impaired worldwide. 45 million of them are really blind, so they see nothing. And about 87% of this world's visually impaired life is in developing countries, and still approximately 85% of them is avoidable globally. Also here we should raise awareness, because with eye care hospitals in developing countries, it could help and could reduce this number of 160 million people. But even in a developed country like Germany, where we have a lot of programs for disabled people, only 15% of the blind people have a job. So this means, like, on the other hand side, 85% of blind people do not have a job. So they live from social welfare, and they are a kind of excluded from the society. And that was a problem where Dialogue in the Dark wanted to create interaction between the abled people and the disabled people, to avoid stereotypes, fears, and prejudices, to increase the level of understanding and support for them in terms of education, information, but also jobs, and prevailing of opinions that disability is less worthy than normal, and leads to discrimination and marginalization of the blind and disabled people worldwide. So how have they done this? They established the first museum in Germany, and which is called Dialogue in the Dark, and it was an experience that you go really into a dark room, and with a dark room I mean 100% dark, so that all of us who are able to see will see in this room nothing. And to have an experience about this, what happens to the blind people. And so they trained blind people to be trainers, and then you can make some experiences in this blind or in this dark rooms. Today they have more than 7 million visitors worldwide, and in some countries it's running, also in Mexico. And they have increased their services and their products. So, for instance, and for me, it's always a great experience to have a dinner in the dark, which means blind waiters will serve you a 4-course dinner, and you do not see what you eat, and you do not know what is served. And everybody of us who is cooking at home will say, I can identify mushrooms, I can identify veal, I can identify zucchini. You will not do it. I was totally surprised because I like to cook, and I said, hey, I will more than 80% I will identify by my tongue. No, you will not do this because you're never trained, and this shows you how important your eyes and the visible sense is for all of us. And so this is a great experience for that. But also they have developed, like for companies, like leadership seminars in the dark, so that people get interaction and so on. Today they have more than 17 permanent establishments around the world. Also they are active in Mexico. If you have the possibility, check it out. I can strongly recommend this. And they have temporarily exhibitions and so on. So this is a great example, and it's the first example for a social business because they established it in Germany, and then they replicate it as a franchise model. And also operating in Asia and in the Latin Americas and in other regions of the world are operating as a franchise model. So once it is a successful business model and you have established it and do all the adjustments, you can also have it as a franchise model. So it's Dialogue in the Dark works as the same principles of franchise models like McDonald's or Burger King or all the other stuff, or Vapiano or however they are called. And so today they have helped to raise awareness for blind people, but also they have created a lot of jobs for blind people. And now they have a different product which is called Dialogue in Silent, which is the same for deaf people, that you try to communicate with each other and you have the experience how you communicate if you could not hear what the other people will say to you, and how you interfere with, how you communicate only with gestures and with your faces, but not with your voice. Recommendations how to start a social business, and I will have seven recommendations. So this is not like rules, it's just recommendations which we want to give to all these people who are interested in starting a social business. Step one is have a clearly articulated purpose. So identify the social problem which you want to solve, and have this in your focus for all your operations and for all your products. The second one, make sure that your business model is sustainable. You need to build something that financially sustains itself at a minimum. That's normally if you establish a normal business or a social business, but it is very important. And make sure that both of what you do, how you do it, is about excellence. Yeah? So nobody will buy a charity product. Maybe they buy it once or twice, but if you have like a kind of a coffee or a restaurant which is created as a social business, nobody will come a second or a third time if the food is not tasting well or if the waiters are unpolite. So it's about excellence, like in a normal business. Oh, my favorite picture. You know I'm German, and this was a highlight of the summer. Don't go for it alone. So this means like partner with people, build a community, share your knowledge, share your expertise, share your experiences around you, because therefore events like today are very, very important, what INADEM is doing here, that you get together with other entrepreneurs, because you cannot do everything by your own. It's good to exchange your ideas and your experiences, and be ready for tough 36 months. That's a recommendation which I can give to all entrepreneurs, if they are social business entrepreneurs or others, because the first 3 years will not be the highlight of getting some income and having an easy life. So step 5 is test and pilot new ways of doing things. Be open for innovative concepts and also develop innovative products, services. And measure the results as step 6, because always you need to adjust, to improve, and to see, are the customers happy? Are my pricings okay? And for a social business, additionally, do I have a social impact as well? And step 7, implement it with joy. Have fun by doing it, because also entrepreneurs usually like to establish companies, and that's a kind of the entrepreneurial spirit, which is one of the most creative energies of mankind, which I ever identified. Helpful, therefore, is we always do this when we have social business lab, which are a little bit more intense and more with dialogue and creating first idea, following the canvas model. I also saw upstairs that there were some workshops where the canvas model is explained, which is about 9 building blocks. So if you create a business plan for your ideas, you have 9 building blocks and you can follow them easily. And this means like you need to consider some ideas in your mind, like who should be my customers and what customer segments I want to have, what products and services I want to do, and what kind of value proposition will my company have, which sales channels and distribution channels I have, because it makes no sense if I create the best honey with indigenous communities in Chiapas and I do not make any thoughts about distribution. What kind of revenue streams will I have to earn profits? What are my key activities? What is about customer relationships, key resources, key partnerships, and cost structure? So this is 9 building blocks which help you to create a business plan for a social business as well as for a traditional business. How to get involved? I would give you just a rough idea who we are. We as a Grameen Creative Lab founded 6 years ago, and we are working globally, but we also have partners here in Mexico with Green Street, the Earth Fund, and we work also together with INADEM to help to create a social business to create an ecosystem for social business entrepreneurs here. We do it via interaction, via incubation, and via creation. So this means we have platforms and networking. We do our own events to do social business. We are speaking at conferences like today. We work together with a network of more than 35 universities worldwide who added, for instance, social business into their curriculum. And we create together with companies, for instance, like one example is we established together with BASF, the chemical company in Germany, a social business in Bangladesh to create affordable mosquito nets for poor people. So that's how we work, and that's why I'm here. And usually I would like to promote the Global Social Business Summit. This is the annual gathering of the social business community, so the leading conference of social business. And this year it will be the 6th time, and it will be in Mexico City, so the 27th and the 28th. If you are interested to get involved in this and to meet people who are doing social businesses, to meet other entrepreneurs, check it out, gsps2014.com, and we are working also here together with INADEM to have a kind of to have a kickstart for a social business movement in Mexico. So involve partners, or just a rough overview about the social business community in Mexico. I mentioned INADEM and Green Street, which are our main partners for that, but also Ashoka is doing a lot with, yesterday there was also a Ashoka event for change making here in IPADE in the business school, and social business was one of the relevant topics. We are working together with Fomento Social from Banamex. We are working with CEMEX. CEMEX has a lot of social businesses here, and a very good idea. So if you are interested in housing projects, check it out what CEMEX is doing. FEMSA is supporting social business entrepreneurs. We have trained them in Monterrey. Televisa Foundation, the Foundation Walmart, and many more. So there is a movement growing, and you can check this out. My colleagues here, Daniel and Daniela from Green Street, are here as well. Can you stand up, please? Are they here? Yeah, maybe I will introduce them at the end. So if you are interested, there is a movement going on, and what we want to do is to create an action plan for social businesses, which means like we want to create social businesses more and more, and social business joint ventures. We want to create a social business infrastructure, which means social business incubators, but also to establish a social business fund in terms of financial resources, and to make social business attractive for investors, that you have the financial sector. But also universities, there are a lot of universities who want to step into social business, who want to give workshops, lectures on social business, doing idea competitions, and maybe establish social business chairs or social business institutes. And with the government and with government organization to create a holistic social business movement to support social business infrastructures with fund and incubators. For instance, establishing social business cities or social business regions, which is also a concept which we have developed, and to raise awareness for that through events like today. And that's the main purpose where we're working on. This will not be finished with the Global Social Business Summit in November. The Global Social Business Summit in November here in Mexico is more a kickstart and for this movement that all of you can get involved. And yeah, so this is kind of activities what we do. So we trained entrepreneurs, as you see in the pictures below. That was at the Tec de Monterrey campus in Monterrey. But also we visited social projects. This is CEMEX and others, to see if we can transform them to social businesses. So that's the work we do. And if I say social business in Mexico, how can you create them? There are, in my opinion, various opportunities, and here is just some examples where what we identified as social problems in Mexico, but not only in Mexico, where you can say, this is something how I can get involved in terms of aging, in terms of environment, in terms of housing, in terms of indigenous communities and people to help them. Mega cities like Mexico City with 20 million people living here. Migration, not only the migration from Mexicans to the US, but also you have a migration movement from southern Latin America countries to Mexico, or to Mexico and through Mexico. Water is an issue, empowerment of women, and there are a lot of more. So if you are interested in creating social businesses, there are several opportunities. And if today young people here in the audience ask me and say, oh wow, I would like to start a social business, but how can I, but I also want to buy an apartment here in Mexico, I want to have a nice car and stuff like that. How will I do this? Because I only get a market adequate salary and so on. I said, entrepreneurial spirit is a creative energy. So it is not like you have to choose between a social business or a normal business. My recommendation would always be establish first a normal business and a traditional business and secure your income for you, your family, and so on. And if you afterwards say, okay, now I have a house and fine, and my first business or my first two businesses are running, then I will establish a second one or a third one, and this could be a social business. So there's not like an or, it's an and. Yeah, so you can establish a traditional business and on the other hand side another business, because usually what I discovered when I talk with entrepreneurs, they have fun in establishing businesses and they are not finished with the first one because they want to have more, and that's the kind of entrepreneurial spirit. Like my partner Hans Reis, who established the Grameen Creative Lab together with Professor Yunus. He's a really serial entrepreneur. He established more than 20 businesses in his life, and he has the same age like me. Yeah, so he started with 15 to establish his first business. So this means like it is not that social business should replace the traditional economy. It's an alternative model, and it's an additional model to solve social problems. So I do not want to talk here against any business community, against any economy. So I just want to say this is an additional model. It can help to solve social problems, and there are everywhere social problems. Also, I come from Wiesbaden in Germany, and Wiesbaden is one of the richest cities in Germany. But still there are a lot of social problems which could not be solved by the government or the city authorities, and so they are thankful that we established several social businesses there in one of the richest cities, because we still have there a lot of homeless people and poor people and other social problems. So identify these problems, help to solve them, and that would be great. And if you do it with joy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks so much, Michael. We are very excited for this special methodology to help people, social business. Gracias a todos por estar aquí y escuchar a Michael Broom. Vamos a entrar a una sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Entonces pueden hacerlas en español y le voy a entregar a Michael también un traductor simultáneo para que escuche.
How many time do we have? Because
yes, 10 minutes for questions, yeah?
Yeah.
And answers. 10 minutos, por favor, de preguntas y respuestas para Michael Broom. Por favor.
Hi, Michael. Thank you very much for your talk. First I have to thank you for amazing talk. After that, I have just two questions.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I had the Spanish translation. Doesn't help me, so please.
As I was saying, I have two questions for you. First of all, in your point of view, what are the challenges for creating a social movement in Mexico? How can we beat them? And on the other hand, what can you recommend a social entrepreneur to create a social movement in its city?
Let's say, usually if you establish a social business, it has the same challenges like a normal business. Yeah? So if you're a social business entrepreneur, you have the challenges which all businesses have. You have to find your customers, you have to find access to financial resources and so on. To establish an ecosystem for social business, it is like, first of all, spreading awareness for this concept. If it's not well known and if it's not popular, you will not convince anybody. Yeah? So that's what we do as a Grameen Creative Lab together with some partners. The second one is like giving supporting services for social businesses, like social business funds, but also train entrepreneurs on social business. So these are the basic services which needs to be done. And once there's a movement growing and there's a community. The community can help each other. But first of all, we have to spread the word for social business, and we have to establish a community. And I hope that we can help with the Global Social Business Summit and with other efforts of Green Street and INADEM to do this.
Thank you very much.
Por acá. Buenas tardes. Mi pregunta, espero alguna respuesta muy experimentada, dado que, bueno, yo soy de Michoacán y actualmente el gobierno del estado de Michoacán está desarrollando una labor muy parecida a la de Grameen Bank. Ha desarrollado un programa muy similar y la gente está respondiendo más a lo que está haciendo el gobierno que a otras ocasiones que emprendedores trataron de hacer este tipo de cosas. La pregunta sería, de acuerdo a la experiencia vivida y que lo que ha podido observar en otras partes del mundo, ¿cómo erradicar esa incredulidad por parte de la misma gente hacia el emprendedor? ¿O cómo tratar de crear una alianza entre gobierno y emprendedor para poder desarrollar estos programas por parte de emprendedores?
I would not say there's a lag between entrepreneurs and government. Not everywhere, it's somewhere. And also what I say is, and I know that what is necessary is that the government is helping entrepreneurs to become independent and to give them trainings like today, and what I saw was impressive, and like I said in the beginning when there was no translation here, I would like to export this best case practice of an entrepreneur's training like the Semana here to Germany, because we do not have this, so we do not do this. But I guess it is quite important that you train from a very low age on students for entrepreneurship. Because usually schools, and I'm talking about schools, not universities also, but schools. In schools you are taught to apply for a job, but not to become an entrepreneur. And I think this is something which the government, and all governments, because education in schools belongs mostly in public schools to government, can be changed, because if you do not only job application trainings in schools, but also if you say start entrepreneurial trainings that people start. I was in Sweden in a school this year, and every student there has to establish a small business during his time. So like catering facilities and so on. Not with a big amount of money, but just to be trained and to run a business and to identify what are the challenges, but also how it creates joy for yourself. And I think this is the most important thing, that governments force more action into education and of education for young students. And this means, for me, we need to start in schools and not in universities. But if you come to universities and you have quite today a packed day, you are not trained, you don't have time, you have to learn that you finish your studies very early. And in schools, I guess we have the possibilities to train entrepreneurs. And if I talk about entrepreneurs, I mean it could be social business entrepreneurs, but also entrepreneurs for for traditional business.
Sí, buenas tardes. Mi pregunta es, en este programa podemos entrar las organizaciones sociales, ¿así?
Who? Sorry, who can be involved? Sorry.
Sí, yo le hago esta pregunta porque soy representante de una organización social, más que nada rural, pero en eso nos enfocamos también a organizar a gente para que les demos orientación cómo se deben de bajar recursos del gobierno federal. A eso era mi pregunta. Gracias.
Yeah, let's say if you are from a social community, it is good because what you can identify is what kind of social problems you have in your community and what kind of skills there are by people who are unemployed and so on. And then you can help them to establish their social businesses there. So this means like a kind of education, but also to create a kind of a cooperative which could be run as a social business, and cooperatives are very close to the social business idea. Like in Germany we had Gustav Raiffeisen, who is like somebody who established a cooperative model in Germany 125 years ago, and it was like today I would say this is a social business. It has a name. And if you establish in your company a cooperative, whatever you are doing, farming, fishing, housing, or whatever, this could be involved. Yeah, so not a problem. And I would like to ask you and invite you to do this. And if you need some help, contact like people from INADEM or from Green State.
Michael Broom tiene que tomar un vuelo, de hecho, a Alemania en un momento, pero vamos a responder una pregunta más y tenemos quizás unos 10, 15 minutos para que terminando la conferencia puedan acercarse con él los que tengan alguna duda, ¿no? Pero para también desalojar el salón. Gracias.
Good afternoon. I talk about the wash money because maybe the crime could be behind these actions. Puede estar el crimen, estar detrás de todo esto. It seems good, but maybe it could be used by the crime. What do you think about this?
By the crime?
Crime, exactly. For example, narcotraffic. Maybe they wash the money. The money is washed.
Okay.
It's a risk. I think it could be a risk.
It could be a risk, but this could be a risk also in traditional business. So it does not has any relation to social business itself. Yeah. So if you mean like money washing, really, are you talking about money washing from criminal institutions?
No.
Or you mean greenwashing?
No. Narcotraffic or specifically narcotraffic. Excuse me? No. For example, I obtain money from the from the stoners or people that consumes drugs.
Yeah.
But I have to wash my money. How can it's related to the government? How can
¿Quieres decir que cómo le puedo hacer para que se evite temas de evasión de impuestos o
could
que
be detected?
Dilo en español, dilo en español.
Pueden ser detectadas estos tipos de comportamientos si es que los hubiere del crimen que esté detrás de algo que parece bueno o algo, o sea, es bueno, en esencia es bueno, pero se puede lavar el dinero con eso. No es porque yo sea un criminal, sino que puede llegar a ser. Se puede o ha pasado con este tipo de... Porque puede ser, el proyecto es bueno, pero puede ser el crimen que lo tome para justificar, para dar dinero. Él da el dinero para que se hagan las cosas, pero realmente se está lavando el dinero. Bueno, ese es mi punto de vista.
Okay, very easy, because if you're an entrepreneur and you have a financial resource, you have to check where it comes from. Yeah, so it's not belonging to social business, or it's for everybody who has an entrepreneur. You do not want to receive money from a drug cartel or somebody like that, because then you will be, this is not like a normal bank. And so you have to make sure that everything you do is legal, and not depending on social business, because social business should have to do it the same way like a traditional business. And if somebody offers you money and you're a bit skeptic about what kind of interests do they have, you have to check it. Yeah? So, and this is not a specific social business question. And I could recommend to everybody, do not trust, let's say, a kind of offers you get where you say, what kind of interest do they have? Yeah, so to give me the money. Yeah, so this is something which you have to check, and you have to check it in detail.
Muchas gracias, Michael. Es increíble que lo que ustedes escucharon de Michael, de empezar con unos pocos dólares, una persona de Bangladesh ahora en el 83, en el año 83, a este año millones de dólares que está repartiendo para ayudar a tanta gente, lo comunique con todos ustedes, que hay tantas oportunidades para ayudar a las personas por medio de un negocio sustentable. Un fuerte aplauso, por favor, a Michael Baum.
Gracias.